Anti-Racist Superpowers with Reverend Meg. But what about we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Isn't all of this already covered in our first principle? I don't like how it's worded. Why do we keep focusing on Black people? What about other oppressed groups? These are all great points. Let's address each one. Starting with, why do we need this 8th principle? Isn't everything in it already covered in the other 7? What the 8th principle adds to the other 7 are important words like actions and accountability and institutions. The 8th principle, unlike the other 7, refers not just to our beliefs, but to our actions. It asks us to not only believe in the worth and dignity of others, but to act on it. The 8th principle also refers not just to us as individuals, but to our institutions. It's one thing to say, I'm against oppression as an individual person. But the 8th principle asks us to be responsible for our institutions as well as ourselves. I don't like how the 8th principle is worded. Well, you're not alone, but the exact wording of the 8th principle is not what we're voting on. We're voting on adopting the principle, that is, the idea itself. In fact, historically, our 7 principles have changed their wording, so this one might change too. Let's begin by agreeing that we need an 8th principle that focuses on actions, accountability, and oppression in individuals and institutions. We can plan the wording in more detail later. Why do we keep focusing on racism against Black people? What about poor white people? What about indigenous people? Good question. If you look closely, you'll see that the 8th principle does not specifically mention any one group. It's meant to encourage widespread action in support of all oppressed groups. You may have heard Black people speak in favor of the 8th principle because many, many Black UUs support it. All of the people who support the 8th principle, regardless of their race, support dismantling racism and other forms of oppression in ourselves and our institutions. So congratulations, you've earned a new superpower, the ability to answer objections to the 8th principle.